I'm calling this Spellweaver build the Icy Hot Tank. It's a great fun build for a level 8 Spellweaver. You're going to be in the front, you're going to be taking aggro, you're going to be helping your team, and it's what I would call a non-standard control build. So I really hope you enjoy. There are some dangers to playing this build because you're going to be in the front, because the monsters are going to be focusing on you. So later on, I'm going to talk about items and some strategies to minimize the dangers, but just know that when you're in front like this, there's always some risks. So once in a while, you may get caught and have to throw away a card. It's not the end of the world. You are the Spellweaver. You can get a lot of cards back. This build centers around 4 cards. It centers around Cold Front, Frost Armor, Cold Fire, and Crackling Air. And what it does is it allows you to get in the front, and it allows you to tank hits, and it's a non-standard control build because it allows the rest of the people in your party, the rest of your friends, the classes, whatever you want to call them, it allows them to go ahead and do whatever they want to do without having to worry as much about managing aggro because you're going to be managing most of the aggro. The first card we're going to talk about is Cold Front. Cold Front, we're basically going to be using the bottom 99% of the time. It's going to allow us to tank and it's going to retaliate, and it's the whole reason this build exists. Without it, the build doesn't exist. The next card we're going to talk about is Frost Armor. We're going to be using the bottom of this, and we're going to be using this card for a couple of reasons. One is we're going to be using it for initiative because at 20 initiative, it's one of the faster Spellweaver cards. We're going to use it to add a little bit of tankiness, and then we're also going to use it to produce ice to power our Cold Fire. The third card we're going to talk about is Cold Fire. So when you're in the front all the time like you are with this build, once in a while you're going to get caught out there and you're not going to have protection and you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. So to minimize some of those risks, we're going to use Cold Fire to stun. We're going to be able to stun some enemies and just keep the attacks at a manageable level when we need to. And stunning is always good. The fourth card in this build is Crackling Air, and we're going to be using the bottom of that as well. Top is not really that good. That's besides the point, but we're going to use the bottom of this, and in this build it actually works well because it's going to allow us some mobility. You know, a lot of the other cards we're using are bottom actions, and so this bottom action is going to allow us to move into position, and when we have fire up from Engulfed in Flames or from another source, we're going to be using that to retaliate, and that's going to be on top of the other retaliate stuff we have. Mana Bolt's going into the build for a couple of reasons. One, it's the fastest card. When you really need to go fast at 7 initiative, you're going to pull out Mana Bolt and go ahead. It's basically the Swiss Army knife for the Spellweaver. And we're going to use that top attack sometimes because we do have a lot of other bottom actions that we're using. Engulfed in Flames is another key piece, although I didn't build around it, because a lot of the times you're going to have to decide whether you're going to use the bottom or the top. Mostly, I think you're going to be using the top. When I played it, I mostly used the top because even though it sounds good to, use the bottom, retaliate, and have a bunch of attacks, generally you're going to be using too many lost cards if you're using Engulfed in Flames as a lost card. I like to use it as a good, strong attack to produce fire so that you can use Crackling Air's retaliate. The last 2 cards we're going to have are Twin Restoration and Reviving Ether. And these are pretty straightforward. Twin Restoration, you're going to use to get back Frost Armor and Cold Front so that you can use them again. And then you're going to use Reviving Ether later in the scenario to get all your cards back, and you're going to cycle through it again. This is going to allow you to tank 15 hits between those 2 cards. It's pretty powerful. And it's one of the reasons why I know a lot of people say Twin Restoration isn't that good. But it actually is good when you go all in on a certain strategy and you want to use that card multiple times. Hope you're liking this Icy Hot Tank build. If you are, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so that when I make more builds, you're going to get notified. Also, I've got a lot of opinions, and I've decided to go ahead and rank all of the Gloomhaven classes, including Forgotten Circles and including Jaws of the Lion. So I'll put a link up here at top. Go ahead and check out that video and see where your favorite characters lie within the Gloomhaven world. I want to just talk about the first few turns so that you've got a good idea of how this build actually operates and, the best way to kind of play it. feel free to tweak it. But I found that, cycling in this way makes a lot of sense. And sometimes you're going to have to go off script because crazy things happen. But generally, this is the flow you want to follow. So turn 1, you're going to come out with Cold Front on the bottom, Mana Bolt on the top. This is so you can go fast. Mana Bolt allows you to go fast. You're going to get the protection from Cold Front up. And you're going to be in good shape if enemies come in to start taking that damage. And you're going to be pretty fast. And you're also going to be retaliating 3. Turn 2, you're going to play Frost Armor, and you're going to play Engulfed in Flames. So top of Engulfed in Flames, bottom of Frost Armor. This is more protection, and you're going to have a decent attack with Engulfed in Flames. And you're going to produce Ice and Fire for your next turn. On turn 3, you're going to play Cold Fire, and you're going to play Crackling Air. At this point, you may want to use the Boots of Speed, because you probably want to go quick to get that stun out and to make sure that your retaliate works. So if you do use Boots of Speed, you're going to be going at 15, which is generally going to be enough. You're going to move 3, you're going to reposition yourself with the bottom of Crackling Air, and you're going to retaliate. And then you're going to stun some of the enemies. And you're not going to do a lot of damage because you're not using the fire for Cold Fire. You're using it for Crackling Air. Hopefully those 3 turns are going to give you an idea. And essentially you're going to cycle through like that. You're going to be in the front, you're going to take damage, you're going to allow everybody else on your team to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And they're not going to have to worry about using a move to get out of the way of a guy, and instead of using a bottom attack or something along those lines. It's going to increase the power of the rest of your party. Tanking 15 hits over a scenario is extremely powerful. And I think you're going to find that most of the time, you're not going to need to take more than 15 hits. For perks, you're going to want to go with the +2 and Create Fire and Ice. These are going to be super handy. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to remove your 4+0 cards so that you cycle through those creation of elements even more. Because once you thin your deck out and you're creating those elements, they're going to come up a lot more often. And that means you're going to be able to make sure that you can use your Retaliate on Crackling Air. You're going to make sure that you can use your Frost on Cold Fire. And then you're going to want to go with add 1+0 Stun, and then add 1+1 Immobilize. Depending on how many characters you've retired and where you're at within the game, you may actually have more perks, but I would start out with those ones. At Prosperity level 2, the items you're going to want to use are 1, Empowering Talisman. This is going to let you get back one of your small items, or maybe your Cloak of Invisibility, depending on the situation. I found I tended to use it most for stun powder, so that I could stun when I needed to, just to kind of manage the aggro. Chest, we're going Cloak of Invisibility, and that's just as a safety valve. Sometimes you're going to get yourself in trouble, and you may want to just pop that safety valve so that you're not taking a ton of hits that you no longer have protection for. You may need another turn to, set up your Frost Armor and your Cold Front again. For boots, I'm going Boots of Speed every time. This is going to allow you to manage your initiative a little bit better. Spellweaver has terrible initiative. I mean, it's just brutal. And because you're in a Retaliate build, you're going to want to use those as much as you can. For hands, I'm going Weighted Net, and this falls into the control theme again. Weighted Net is going to allow you to turn your Engulfed in Flames or your Mana Bolt into an Immobilize, and it's going to allow you to manage aggro. Small items, I'm going Minor Mana. That's just to produce an element when I need it. If you've got all of your +2 create elements, you may not need this. There may be another pick out there for you. Then I'm going Minor Stand because you've got to get back cards. Getting back cards helps. Sometimes you may want to play an Engulfed in Flames 2 turns in a row or something along those lines. Next, I'm going Minor Healing Potion. This is just a utility pick. And then last, I'm going Stun Powder. And again, that's to manage the aggro so that you can, use that stun to, reduce the amount of attacks that are coming your way. Prosperity level 5, head is still going to be Empowering Talisman. Chest is still going to be the Cloak of Invisibility. Boots are still going to be the Boots of Speed. Hands are still going to be Weighted Net. Small items is where it's really going to change up here. So we're going to add the Moon Earring, and the Moon Earring is going to allow us to get our spent items back. So it's going to allow us to get our boots back, and it's going to allow us to get our Weighted Net back. Then The really good stuff here, the Ring of Haste. The Ring of Haste allows us to play an extra bottom action, and so that's going to allow us to get this build going way faster. You can play Frost Armor and Cold Front and another card first turn, and so it just accelerates the curve. It's going to cost you a little bit in longevity, but I think the balance of in power is going to make a big difference. I always used it when I was playing this. Next, Major Stam. Major Stamina Potion, you know, it's going to give you a little bit extra longevity getting those cards back, so super handy. And then last, we're still staying with Stun Powder. Stun Powder is good control. At Prosperity 7, we're changing up the head, and we're going now with Pendant of Dark Pacts. It's basically a straight upgrade from the Empowering Talisman. The curse doesn't matter that much, so getting 2 consumed items back is great, so we're going with that. Chest, we're going with Shadow Armor. Gone is the Cloak of Invisibility. In comes Shadow Armor. That's going to allow us to get in there and take another hit without being damaged. And instead of, you know, the safety valve of Cloak of Invisibility, we're still going to be in there and able to take aggro so that the rest of the team can go really offensive. Boots, we're upgrading from the Boots of Speed to the Boots of Quickness. Straight upgrade, 20 initiative change instead of 10. Hands, still staying with the weighted net. And then small items, still with the Ring of Haste. We've still got Stun Powder. We've got a Major Stam. And the one change is just an upgrade over the Moon Earring. And that's going to be the Sun Earring. And it's just, you know, add a heal on. I hope you like this Icy Hot Tank build. Go ahead, try it. Let me know how it worked for you, if there are any tweaks you'd make. And please subscribe to my channel.